So this is Ted Leslie with Let Out the Clutch, brought to you by Biker Attorney. I've got my friend Don Moomaw today from MOTIV Cycles to visit with us today. So Don, thank you for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You and I met probably a dozen years ago. You had a shop that at first was called Mad Alley.
Yes.
And my recollection is not real good, but I think it was down like off of Western or something like that.
Claxon.
Class. Okay.
Claxon, yeah. It was down off of, well, it's kind of weird because we're in Edmond, so you say down off of when actually it was the north part of Oklahoma
North part of
City.
Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
And Mad Alley was a shop that I know as far as repairing motorcycles, but also selling some motorcycles too, I believe.
Yes. We didn't sell a lot. We were mostly just selling used bikes.
Okay.
Every once in a while. Didn't do a lot of sales. It was me and my business partner, Mike Gaglietti. And that's where Mad Alley came from, was Mike and Don.
Okay. I didn't know where that came from.
Yeah, it was Mike and Don, and our original location was off of 6th Street and Automobile Alley. So that's where Mike was the one that came up with Mad Alley, because we were in Automobile Alley and it was Mike and Don.
And I'm probably not the right chronology, but then we aren't close friends, but I know you moved a little bit more Western Oklahoma, Western Oklahoma City for a little while.
Close to the fairgrounds.
Okay.
But that was well after we switched over to MOTIV Cycle Works. Mike's wife decided she wanted to move back to Florida, so they both moved back to Florida. And when they left, I switched the name over because I didn't feel right about it being Mad Alley without Mike being involved with it.
So MOTIV, MOTIV.
Yes.
So what does that stand for?
That was actually a name one of our customers came up with, who also does social media stuff. And he came up with the name and the logo. And I'm really, really grateful that he did that for us.
That's pretty cool. And now you have a line of motorcycles, an Italian brand.
Moto Guzzi, yes, we do. When Mike and I started the business, we kind of specialized in European motorcycles. There wasn't anybody doing it in Oklahoma City, so we did that. Mike was a huge Ducati fan. He was a Ducati master mechanic and did everything Ducati. And so when we started we were specialized in European motorcycles. The Ducatis that came in, he mostly worked on. I worked on them here and there, but I kind of was the one that did a lot of the other European brands. And Moto Guzzi was one of our major brands that we serviced.
Well, and I don't know if you remember this or not, but you and I went on a ride with a bunch of guys a long time ago, Ducatis, and we ended up like in some Mexican place eating Mexican food down in Mustang or something like that years ago. I think I was on my Ducati Diavol. I think you were on a Ducati as well.
Yeah, I was probably on a monster that I built myself.
So how did you pick up the line Moto Guzzi?
It was kind of interesting. Well, I don't know if I should call it interesting or not. I had a few Moto Guzzi customers, and all of them would basically say, "Hey, there's no dealer, and maybe you should become a dealer. Maybe you should become a dealer." And I had the same thing with the Aprilia. And so one day I was at MotoGP,
Okay.
and I was at the Aprilia booth, just talking to them, and it was the regional manager for Aprilia. And I was talking to the regional manager for our region, for the dealer development, and he was like, "Well, yeah, let's talk about this." And I filled out all the paperwork, and basically the Piaggio Group, which owns Moto Guzzi, was like, "Well, we think that Moto Guzzi, out of all of our brands, Moto Guzzi would be the best brand to bring in if we were only going to bring one brand in. That would be the best brand to bring into Oklahoma City at this time." And I loved Moto Guzzi's history. I loved Moto Guzzi's quality and just the entire brand about Moto Guzzi. So that was like, yeah, let's do this.
For those who don't know, obviously it's an Italian brand, and Piaggio bought it some time ago. We don't know when, but they have Vespa and Aprilia and Moto Guzzi as motorcycles, right?
Yeah, that's all under the same company. They are all under the same company. The Piaggio was the original, and Vespa was actually originally just a model from Piaggio. It's always been owned by Piaggio. They were always the same company. And Vespa was just a model of it, but it's kind of its own brand because it became so popular.
Now, are you the only Moto Guzzi dealer in the state?
No, there is one in Tulsa, Mother Road,
Okay.
Motorsports, and he has the full line. He does Aprilia, Moto Guzzi, Vespa, Piaggio, and I also believe he has Ducati.
He just brought that in. His name's Steve up there, I believe.
Yep.
Very nice guy. But,
He's a very nice guy.
but you've had Moto Guzzi for how many years now?
Since we've been officially a dealer since 18.
So you talked about the history. This is an Italian brand. This goes back to what, 1920s or something like that?
1921. It is the oldest continuously running manufacturer in the world. All the other manufacturers had stoppages here and there. They never have, and they are right at this point in time. They are the only one that's still completely handmade in Italy. Like your Ducati and Aprilia and MV Agusta and things of that nature, they all use computers for a lot of the assembly lines now, and Moto Guzzi still doesn't.
Now, it's got a unique engine, and it's noticeable when you walk up to it. So tell us about the engine in the Moto Guzzi.
Moto Guzzi is a transverse 90-degree V-twin engine. And that makes it kind of unique in the motorcycle world because there's not a lot of transverse engines in the motorcycle world.
It's on the V-twins, but not transverse.
Right. I'm not sure of any V-twin engines other than Honda's CX line that they had quite a while back.
That was probably the 80s or something like that.
Yeah, 70s and 80s. And then from then on out, everybody else who had a V-twin has
In line.
had linear, yes.
So what is the purpose of having the motor sideways and like that?
For them, I do believe it was just the design configuration because they basically designed it, the drivetrain like a car. It just goes engine, clutch, transmission, drive shaft, rear end, just like a car would, and that made it quite a bit easier than putting the engine the other way. When they started, they had quite a few different designs. They were an engine builder for all kinds of stuff too. At one time, and so I think that was just the tried and tested design. It cools better, it oils better.
They both get in the air.
Yeah. It cools better than having them having the engine twist the other way, and so I think that's just the way it worked out. It doesn't lose. It has a dry clutch in it. It doesn't lose a lot of power through the drivetrain. So it's all around. It's a really good design for them, and they just stuck with it.
Now, is it a water cooled or air cooled engine?
They are air-cooled at this time, except the new V100 Mondello and Stelvio. That is the newest line. It's only a couple years old, and they are water-cooled 4-valve overhead cam engines.
Well, and recently there was a post from one of your clients and a friend of mine, Gerald, about your Stelvio.
Yeah, he's looking at maybe coming over and starting to do some of our social media for us. And
Gerald?
Yeah.
Well, he's been a BMW rider in the past and ridden some Ducati and other stuff too. So.
Yeah, he's had quite a bit of stuff. Right now, I do believe he has. I'm not sure if he has a BMW or not, but I know he does have the Harley Davidson, their adventure bike,
The Pan America.
the Pan America. Yeah.
And that's funny how this community is kind of so small because I've known him a long time from another area, and then he posts about you, and I'm like, you came to mind. I'm like, well, we need to have Don on the show and talk about his bikes a little bit. But yeah, Gerald's promoting your Stelvio, so tell us about that one.
That's the newest. That's the newest line. It's their newest adventure bike. They had one before, a design before, and then that design got outlived. Well, not outlived. It wouldn't pass emissions in Europe, so that they instead of trying to make it pass emissions, they just shut the line down and then redesigned it. And this is the new design. So that it's 1,000 cc's, water cooled. It does also have a new clutch design on it. A lot of their technology that they're using has come from Aprilia, so it's a tested technology, which is really nice for them because a lot of times when lines first come out, there's little hiccups here and there, and they have to do like recalls here and there. And I don't remember them having. I remember them having like one recall on the Stelvio and like one or two on the Mondello, and they're all little things like, oh, this bracket that holds the wires was just in a little bit of a wrong shape, so we redid it and things of that nature.
So Moto Guzzi and Aprilia work together on some of the designs, or they can borrow some technology?
Yes. Like the fuel injection system in it, that's borrowed from Aprilia. So yeah, it's pretty well a tested design already. They just changed some things around and modified it a little bit.
So what's the weight of this bike?
560, 550, 560.
It's a little less than the big GSs then.
Yes, it is. It is a little less than the big GS, and it has really good power. I'm really impressed with the handlings and just the way the bike operates. And the newest model has the radar sensoring on it, so it's supposed to help you out and give you warnings and stuff for blind spots and things of that nature.
Does it have cruise and that kind of thing as well?
Yes. Yeah, it has all your bells and whistles. I'm a fan of safety features, but I'm also a fan of not getting so many electronics on a bike that you have you could potentially be stuck somewhere and the bike not want you to run because it thinks there's a problem.
Gremlins.
Yes. Yeah. That is the bad thing about technology. But the good thing about technology is it just makes the bikes safer and easier for people to ride.
What's the price range of this bike?
16.
Okay.
It's going to be right in the 16 mark.
What's the range of the Moto Guzzi line as far as price range? Where's the starting point?
The starting point is going to be the V7, probably right around the high eights, low nines, up to the top of line Mondello or at Mondello and Stelvio, which are going to be right there at about 18, 19.
Still less than some other brands out there that are very expensive.
Quite a bit less. That was one of the reasons that I picked up Moto Guzzi, is because the main reason I have is still a hand built Italian motorcycle that you're getting at a really, really reasonable rate. And they have a 2-year unlimited mileage warranty on them. They are a great motorcycle. They handle exceptionally well. They brake well. They have good acceleration power. They just all around are great motorcycles for the value you're getting. And there's not a lot of motorcycles that have more bells and whistles on them as far as that goes for the price. Because like with the Stelvios, you can get the heated grips, heated seats. You're getting the cruise control on right now. Three of the 5 models have cruise control, and next year I do believe that they're coming out with the same controls on the lower brands. So pretty soon all the models will have cruise control and have all of the little bells and whistles on them that the higher end brands do, or the higher end models do.
Well, I have to confess, I didn't know much about that model until I saw Gerald's post, and I took a deep dive like I normally do into videos and stuff like that. And I saw quite a few reviews of that bike, and they're very impressed with that bike. So
Yeah. It is really well handling, really nicely designed bike.
I'd like to come out and ride it sometime if you don't mind.
No, and that's something else that I don't have a problem with. Is we do have demo bikes, we do test rides, we do let people come out and enjoy, and check out the bikes.
Before I forget, where are you?
We are at 245 West Wilshire Boulevard, Suite A. So we're just off of Wilshire and I-235.
All right. And then we talked about you're selling new bikes. Do you also service bikes still?
We still service everything. We still service bikes and we still build bikes, because that's where we started at. Is Mike was more of the service when it was Matt Alley. Mike was more the service side, and I was more of the custom build side. And but we still do all of that stuff.
So what brands do you work on? Anything or just European bikes?
No, we work on anything.
So Jap bikes,
Yes,
V-twins.
V-twins, inline fours, Japanese motorcycles, European motorcycles. I have a few Royal Enfield fans that,
Okay.
so we service a lot of stuff there.
Very nice. And at the end of this, we'll post all your information and get that out to the viewers. But let's talk about motorcycle. You talked about MotoGP. Are you a MotoGP fan?
Yes, I am. I have not followed it this season. I'm not going to be able to make it to MotoGP this year, but I'm hoping to make it next year. As far as MotoGP goes, it's just, I watched it on TV, and it's really incredible watching it on TV. And then I went to an actual MotoGP, and to see the bikes in person and see how low those expert riders can get that bike to the ground,
Exactly.
around the corner. It's just
Those speeds too.
it's just it's amazing. And then to think about the motorcycle, what it's built like. And then when I became a dealer for Moto Guzzi, it's part of the Piaggio brand, and Aprilia's there. So I was able to get passes to go down into the pits, down in the paddock, and down actually into where it is. And I was there when they fired up the motorcycles. And it's mind-boggling the amount of power that they put out. You're talking about 1,000 cc's. It's a liter bike. It's 1,000 cc's. 1 liter. 1 liter is not very big.
Right.
It's just it's not very big at all. 1 liter, and they're getting 350 horsepower. out of this one little liter, naturally aspirated. And they'll fire it up, and when they fire it up, it's like an explosion, and it hits you in the chest, and the ground is shaking around it, and you're just like, it's just a liter. It's just 1 liter. But it's incredible, and the skill that the riders have is incredible when you drive it. I drove around the Circuit of Americas. Yeah, I drove the track a couple of times on an old 996 that I had, and it was a lot of fun. But just the amount of skill that they have is incredible.
I got to ride on the track on my Ducati a few years back. The last time I went through a Ducati package, and we got 3 laps, and it was pretty fun.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly how I did it too. At one of I think it might have been the first and the second year.
Okay. So we talked about motorcycles and motorcycle riding, and I met you years ago, and I'm not even sure how I met you, but we've ridden together too. What's your daily rider? Do you have a bike you like to ride the most?
Right now, it's going to be the V100 Mandela.
Okay, tell me about that. What you like about that?
Well, it's a sport tour bike. It's an ST bike, and I've always been a fan of ST bikes.
Okay.
Because I like the effect that they give you a little bit of a aggressive riding position, but you're not completely
Laying down on the
laid
tank.
down on it and just like this is all there is. And it's comfortable. It rides well. It handles amazing. There's just absolutely nothing about that bike that I do not like. And it's also the first motorcycle to come from the factory with active aerodynamics.
Okay,
It's actually got wings on it that lift up at certain speeds that help out. They're not to help out the handling of the bike, but what they're supposed to help out is they're supposed to help out the drag on the rider. And that was when they brought that out, I was like, is this kind of gimmicky? I don't know about this. And so the first V100 we got into the shop, that was exactly what happened to it. We pulled it out of the package, we built it, and as soon as we built it and had a battery in it, I was off driving it. I went right down the interstate, and I just kept turning the wings on and off, on and off, on and off, just to see if I could feel the difference. And you can. I was really amazed that you can feel the difference.
Now, if you get a weekend off and you get a chance to ride, where are you going to go?
Probably the closest good riding is going to be over in Arkansas.
It is.
You know,
that's a given. But the Pig Trail and that sort of thing, Highway 23.
yeah, we do that sometimes. We go to Talahina and Mina. That one's also a fun one to ride those mountains. But I just really just getting over there, and any place you can ride is just fun. If it's someplace very very local, there's a couple of, what is that? 77 right out of Edmond that kind of has some turns up there.
It has a few turns up to Mulhall,
Yeah.
and the little restaurant there that opens and closes. I'm not sure if it's open now or not.
Yeah.
Lucille's.
Yeah. Lucille's. Yeah. We went up there and go down to was that where Mears get the Mears burger down there on those rides? Those aren't bad.
It's a boring ride down to there.
It's a bad ride.
Just jump on the turnpike's the best way to do that.
That's legitimately what we do now. We used to not do that. We used to kind of skirt around and do things, but we were down there one time and it was incredibly windy. And when we left, I was on a really light sport bike, and it was just blowing me all over the place. So we just got on the interstate and I just pinned the bike and
Let's go. Yeah, the route you talked about up from Guthrie north, that's a pretty fun ride.
it is.
And then you can, was it 33? I can't remember what the east-west road is. Goes into Stillwater.
Oh yes.
You take a right there and you go into Stillwater, and then
Yeah.
you come down 177 and then get back on Route 66. That's kind of a traditional loop for me if I've got some time. But
Yeah, that's not a bad loop at all.
the only turns are the first stretch there, though.
Yeah, that's the problem with where we live.
Yeah.
You always end up flat spotting your tire because there's not enough turns.
Yeah, Route 66 has a few, but not much. And it's been under construction this past year, so it's not been quite as much fun. So
Yeah, there's some turns going down to Slaughterville too, down on the south.
I've not done that.
That was pretty fun. We've had some good fun on that. Mike ended up wrecking and breaking his collarbone on that one time.
That's never good.
No, that does happen.
Well, no, that's a tag off of where I got hit by a car in Sturgis the last time I went. So yeah,
Yeah,
stuff happens.
stuff does happen. I've got a few road rashes too.
Yeah, it just happens riding the bikes. But Do you do any events this year? Do you do the?
We the only thing that we have scheduled this year is we're going to go to the Guthrie swap meet,
Okay,
and we're going to set up a demo ride.
well, that'd be nice.
We're not going to set up inside the swap meet. We used to set up inside the swap meet and just have a display of the bikes, but this year I'm going to set up outside with a tent, and we're just going to do demo rides. If anybody wants to demo a Moto Guzzi and see what it's like, they're welcome to try it.
Now the Guthrie swap meets every so often, or you do more
It's
than one, or
June.
you just do one of them.
I do both of them. There's one in the spring or spring summertime and one in the fall. Sure.
What bikes are you going to take with there?
We will. I'm going to have a V100,
Okay.
Stelvio, and a V85 and a V7.
We record these, so this will be out later. What do they need to bring to come ride one of your bikes?
All you need to bring is your riding gear.
What's that? What do you require for that?
Well, it's really more like what you want to ride in. There are no legal requirements in the United or in Oklahoma other than if you're under 18. So really, it's more like what you want to ride in because if you the thing that I really need is your driver's license and then proof of some sort of motorcycle insurance.
Okay, motorcycle endorsement.
Yes, motorcycle endorsement on your driver's license.
Yeah, there's a few out there that are not riding with endorsements, but that's another topic for another show.
Yeah, it's pretty simple to get your endorsement.
It is. And I don't want to chase this rabbit very far, but where do you recommend people go get their training to ride a motorcycle? Because it's kind of changed. I used to send them down to OCCCC, whatever it's by the fairgrounds, but that's not training by people anymore. Do you know that?
Actually, no, I did not know that. I'll have to ask. One of our customers is one of the instructors there. Is a instructor for the motorcycle safety courses. And that is where I used to send everybody.
Yeah, they're not doing it anymore. But if you have someone's name like that, I'd like to bring them on the show sometime to talk about it because I think training is pretty important.
Okay,
And that'd be kind of fun to have an interview with somebody like that if you know somebody.
sure. Yeah, I can get that set up. I can get you his information. And so I don't know, but I do think that it is the best way to go about it. If you are, even if you have experience, because they have different levels of courses. The highway patrol has different levels of courses, and I've went through the basic course. I do believe about 5 times because I've just went through with friends who didn't want to do it alone or they didn't have anybody. I'm like, yeah, I'll do it with you. And I think every one of the courses I've been writing for like ever as far as my life goes, been writing for a long time, and every single course that I've ever went to, I've learned something.
I agree. I was hard-headed. My first bike was an 82 Honda V45 Sabre, and I got it and got an endorsement to drive it in South Carolina where I was raised. And I took the test, passed it, so I've had an M endorsement since forever,
Yeah.
early 80s. And I joined the Air Force in 85, came to Tinker Air Force Base, and they wouldn't let me ride on base without getting the MSF class.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't need this. I've had this bike for however many years. It's the same bike. I've been riding it for thousands of miles. I don't need to take the class. And I took the class, and you learn something. In the slow speed maneuvering and stuff like that, you learn something by going through the class and getting refreshers. I think it's important for everybody to do.
Yeah, and same thing. I was actually the same way. My first motorcycle was just this little tiny. I was really tiny, and it was just this little tiny thing that had big fat wheels on it. Didn't even have a kickstand because the wheels were fat enough that it just held itself up, and it had just this little tiny engine on it. My dad would pull start.
So a little mini bike.
Yep, and I just take off and ride around on it, and then I got into a little Honda and another little Honda, and then I ended up with a old Hodaka 125 Combat Wombat. Drove that around for quite a while, and I never had an official street bike. They're always enduros. I grew up in Colorado, so everything was enduro. And then I joined the Navy. When I joined the Navy, I got a street bike, and same thing. If you want to ride on base, you got to have the orange vest and the helmet and all the safety gear, and you have to take their safety course. And Absolutely. I did, and I learned quite a bit. That was actually the first safety course that I took.
So very similar to me then, because I'd never take one before the Air Force made me do it.
Yeah, same thing.
I didn't know you were in the Navy. So what years were you in the Navy?
I was in the Navy from 90 to 93.
Okay.
I developed a lung condition when I was in the Navy, and Clinton was in office, and they were doing a lot of early outs for people, and they gave me an honorable discharge under medical conditions because I got disqualified from submarine duty because of my lungs, and that I was on a submarine.
Very nice. Well, what brought you to Oklahoma?
My parents, when I got out of the Navy, my parents had moved to Oklahoma, and my mom wanted me to move close, and so I came here, and then I went to college.
Where'd you go to school?
I went to school at OCCC and then OU.
Okay. Now, how about your training to work on motorcycles? Where'd you get that?
Um, so
Is it hands-on or did you go to classes?
for motorcycle training, I did not go to classes. I've just been working on motorcycles since I had my first motorcycle, and I've just been working on them, working on them. And I did, however, go to Wyotech and learned how upholstery, refinishing, and chassis fabrication and performance engine building, and all that stuff kind of converts over into motorcycles also. And we were allowed to have our own personal projects when we were in school. After we finished their projects, we worked on our own projects for extra credit. And I had an Impala SS, and I had a Harley Davidson that I worked on, and those were my school projects.
You mentioned something earlier that I just remember you said custom builds. You do any custom builds now?
I am working on one right now, actually two right now.
What are they?
One of them is a Harley Davidson, and one of them is a Honda.
So what are you doing to make them unique?
Well, the Harley Davidson is just a complete redo. We're building our own frame. We're taking a front suspension, inverted front suspension off of another bike. A real classification of.
Are you doing soft tail or rigid? What are you doing?
It's going to have a suspension on it.
Okay.
But it's going to be a single-sided suspension, and it's going to be also be a push rod rear suspension where the shock does not attach to the actual swing arm. It's got to have a pendulum and a push rod set up on it so you can adjust it out.
What engine are you using?
That's going to be a Sportster that we went through and changed. It's got quite a few modifications to it.
Very nice. Then what's the Honda?
It's a CB. It's a little older CB. And it's a 500. It's a 500 CB.
Now, when you say you're doing the custom work, you're building the frame yourself, doing the engine work. Are you doing the paint and body as well, or what are you doing?
Yeah. If you ever get a chance to look on our website, there is a KZ650 on the website. It's orange and silver, and I built that. And when I say I built that, I built that. I did the paint work myself. I did the upholstery work myself. I did the engine work. I did all the fabrication stuff. I'm the one that made the exhaust system. I did everything on that motorcycle myself. Nobody else's hands touched it.
And what's the website again?
MOTIV Cycle Works, MOTIV.
And CycleWorks.
Yes.
.com. Very nice. Well, today we've had Don with MOTIV on the show today, and I'm really glad he was here. Thank you for joining us. This is Ted Leslie with My Biker Attorney at Let Out the Clutch.